El Yeshuati, Eftach Lelo Echad, Ki Yodi V'Zimrat Yad Adonai, Vayehi Yeshua U'Shatet.
Hi, this is AfterGlow. My name is Jeanne Rosen, and Jeannie over here that's lighting the candles is the producer.
Hi.
Hi.
Good evening. Welcome to AfterGlow.
So we start off with Havdalah. You want to get us, let's see.
Yeah, so we're closing out Shabbat. We had service today. It's the fourth Saturday of October already. It's the 23rd. So we have Shabbat service second and fourth Saturdays of the month. So we did that. And we'll talk a little bit about that today. And
Maybe.
So now we're going to close out Shabbat with Havdalah.
And do Havdalah.
We're going to listen to our transition.
Yeah, we'll try. Let's see what happens. Click. Is that bad?
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're going to do Havdalah. Ooh, fire. You know, I like the fire. All right, so let's remove that and let's do it.
Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen. Amen. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. Yes.
Full cup of wine represents joy.
And
Turn
when you talk about the fruit, there's 9 flavors of the fruit of the Spirit.
Love, joy, peace, goodness, kindness, gentleness, patience, long-suffering. And
that's a lot of them.
Is that 9?
I don't know, almost. Yeah. And self-control.
Self-control. That's a new bottle of wine that tastes good. All right. Okay. Yeah. And then we imbibe wonderful spices. My daughter was telling me she had a headache. So I said,
that's good.
I said, imbibe some peppermint.
So good.
Yeah. So the spices are
we should sell this
or
give it away to our people. We are doing that though. Best samim is the spices, and yeah.
And when you come on our
did we
show,
say it? We didn't say it.
When you come on our show, you get a little container of spices.
That's right. When you interview, so just remember that. Now we're going to say the bracha over smelling those spices, because otherwise we're cheating. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei minei v'samim. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, creator of all kinds of spices. Maybe we should go to the Orient, take a boat ride to get some spices.
Yeah, boat ride might be okay.
Spices.
Yeah, it'd take a long time. And there's too many boats in the port as it is.
Okay,
now we're going to light. We already lit our beautiful Havdalah
That is
candle.
Beautiful.
So we have beeswax.
Good job.
Very nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei ma'orei ha'esh.
Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, creator of the lights of fire.
Fire. Yeah. Somebody say fire.
Praise the Lord, we have fire.
Fire.
Yeah.
Havdalah blessing.
Baruch
atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol, ben or l'choshech, ben Yisrael la'amim, ben yom hashvi'i l'sheshet yemei ma'aseh. Baruch atah Adonai hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who separates the holy from the mundane, light from darkness, Israel from the other peoples, the 7th day, and the rest of the 6 days of work. Blessed are you, Lord, who separates the holy from the mundane. Toast. Very good.
So, Jake, what does the light, besides, gods are light, what's the significance of lighting the Havdalah candle? We light the lights when we start Shabbat.
It gives us a
God's
good,
the light of the world.
yeah. It gives us a
Created the world.
It gives us a good name for our show.
And it gives us a good name for our show.
AfterGlow.
Okay, hit the transition.
All right.
Transition.
Time for the transition.
You gotta put it back up.
What's it called? The Ducati. Here comes the Ducati. Fast. Ooh. Jordan Peterson. Jeannie's about to do rules 10, 11, and 12 of Jordan Peterson's book, The 12 Rules for Life.
Whoa, that was abrupt.
Yeah, so let's just remove it.
Okay.
It's not fine.
Okay, so you get the picture.
Cool.
We're going to finish up this tome I've been reading, Jordan Peterson. So
It's a tome?
Yeah, it's a
I don't even know
large,
what a tome is. I know what a tomb is.
A large
book.
A large book.
That's a nice big. How many pages is that?
149.
You've been working very hard reading this thing.
The real remarkable thing is this is a library book. I don't own this book. And they the library since COVID, they just keep checking it out, rechecking it out to you. But the real discipline was not to be able to underline and write stuff in it, which I do to my books. So I took copious notes. Not really. I took a minimal amount of notes, and but we are ending. We're going to finish this off tonight, and I'm glad. Although
Mazel tov.
Yeah, I'm glad we're getting finished with it. Although it's kind of sad that it's over, because the finale is really where it's at. The very end.
I've been at the edge of my seat for a long time.
The very end, he pulls it together, and it's so we're on rule 10 or not 9. We're on rule 10 tonight.
10.
Be precise with your speech. I find that to be a very valuable piece of advice. Be precise with your speech. Speech is something I've been working on most of my adult life, to increase vocabulary and to be seriously, to be able to converse with a stranger or anybody.
I remember back when I was in grade school.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was 5th or 6th grade. I learned the word diverse, or it was some kind of word like that.
Yeah.
And so you learn the word and then you try to like use it in the papers.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm just saying, I remember.
That's funny. That's funny. It's that word, because that is such a hot word right now. Diversity.
It might have been some other word.
And I think you fit. I think you fill. I think you fulfill some of that. Not requirement, but you are diverse.
There are many facets of me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
yeah, the real nugget is at the very end. It's been kind of a slog. He's wordy. He's complicated.
I think you've been simplifying it very well for us.
Oh, good, because that's my job. To, if I'm going to review it, is to make it bite-sized so that you get enough to understand it and decide whether it's worthy of reading or not for themselves.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to. I like it when you just tell us what you think about it.
Yeah, I think that I was really debating how much I wanted to report about verbatim what it says to be true to the text, but also, but how much do I just want to do it off the cuff and just what my gut reaction was to it. So I think I'm somewhere in between, hopefully.
Yeah, you're both a news person and you're an opinion person, you both.
Yeah. So rule 10 is be precise in your speech. And so here's something he says about that. We perceive things and objects not just as objects, but for their usefulness and our purposes. Either they help or they don't. And we could, when we look at it, we perceive only what is enough for our use, because otherwise there's just too much. Okay.
You're
So
being
just-
kind of abstract for me.
It's
When
a
you say
little abstract.
things or is, what do you mean?
Objects.
Oh, you just mean when you're looking at the
We're
world?
looking at the world. We're talking about a philosopher here.
Okay, when we're looking at the world, we're perceiving.
We're perceiving, the class down the street, whether we're going to send our children there or not, or whether you're going to go to this breakfast place or that breakfast place, or which hammer you're going to buy, or all the other plethora of things there are out there in your world. You only, and he's mentioned this before, you're only capable of handling so much. And you kind of, without knowing it, subconsciously figure out what's the most useful for you. Or sometimes it's not subconsciously. Sometimes it's painful.
Yeah, that's your brain's doing that. I guess you're when you're a baby, infant baby, just popped out. You get this sensation, all this stuff, and your brain's got to figure it all out. Like, what are these sensations coming in, right?
Yeah,
like
and you consciously
sights,
don't know
colors,
this. This
stuff.
is his point. You're not conscious every minute of how complex the world is until, as he uses this as an example, things run at a pace and a speed that is, until there are problems, we're not conscious of how complex everything is. But say your car goes awry. Okay, then you suddenly become aware, I'm not a mechanic. I've got to rely on an expert. Is this expert a good expert? Am I bad at picking out cars? Am I a bad driver? All this uncertainty comes into the picture.
Or is the motor company at fault?
Yeah.
Who knows?
So, so for this reason, we need to be precise in our aim. Otherwise, we drown in complexity.
So it's a matter of
all that to say,
being like a sniper. You want to focus on your target, and
yeah. So he starts broadly, but he uses he uses a marriage as an example. But first he says everything clarified, and that's clarified and articulated becomes visible. Okay, so use marriage as an example. And one that's in trouble gets that way because things are not specified and articulated. What you need, what you're not getting, what you expected and is not happening, or what you misunderstood. And he uses this as an example that it can go on for years, and you push it aside. It's not important. And he has patients that he counsels, and he uses his patients as examples. And not that this is so far removed from our experience. We're in marriage. We all know how difficult they can be. Marriage.
You and I had the blessing of being able to take classes together, and one of the classes that we took was marriage and family counseling. And one of the books was by Hurley or something, His Needs, Her Needs. And they talked about the top most important needs for a man are 5 of them. And then the top most important needs for a woman are 5 of them. But they're all different 5. It's like the top most for the woman was all different. So that leads to all kinds of confusion, So I really thank God that we were able to have these classes and talk about things together.
I can't say that I used the material well, because there are just differences in my personality, yours, you know, and he talks about the differences between men and women, which right now in our day and age are really played down because there's this push to make everybody the same.
Nothing's different. There's no differences.
Differences
are bad.
That makes you unequal somehow.
Yeah.
That's not right. But I wish, you know, Joshua and Meredith are the experts on marriage counseling. So maybe we'll have them another time for that topic.
Well, they're having a blessing of a getaway this weekend. So
they got the getaway. But so
you were talking about the precise.
I'm just going
So what is the 10th rule? Do you have
the 10th rule is to be precise in your speech, because everything is so complex that if you want to bring order into a complex situation, you need to articulate it. First, you need to order it in your head. And then he said before, the way a lot of people organize their thoughts is talking. So he's very much for negotiation, and he gives an example of he and his wife and being in an argument, and they separate. They go into different spaces, and they think of this one question: what could I have done better? And then it gives them a chance to cool down and also think of the topic from the other's perspective. And then they come back together and they negotiate. And then he'll say, you know, do you want to be right, or do you want to get this right? Do you have to be proven right, or do you want peace? Do you want progress? You know, do you want to move forward?
Yeah.
And it's a laying down of yourself. Right.
In other words, figure out some way that everybody wins. It's not like you win or I win.
You want everybody to win. You want the team to win.
Win-win.
So here's just a little piece on this that's from the book. Why refuse to specify when specifying the problem would enable its solution? Because to specify the problem is to admit that it exists. Because to specify the problem is to allow yourself to know what you want, say, from your friend or lover, and then you will know precisely and cleanly when you don't get it, and that will hurt. So there's reasons not to specify, to risk getting specific, because you might not get what you want. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
The man that gives me everything I want, you know, but he's learned that that's the best way to go, which is very wise. 39
years?
Yeah.
It's really longer because we knew each other for a long time.
Okay. Did you have something to say?
I can't think of it.
But you will learn something from that and use what you learn in the future. And the alternative to that sharp single pain of maybe not getting what you want is the dull ache of continued hopelessness and vague failure, and the sense that precious time is slipping by. So he's advocating for getting it out there.
I remember what was it going to say.
Yeah.
It has to do with, you want to be able to ideally have the person read your mind. We talked about that before, but beyond that, you just want to give a little hint, you know, and they should be able to pick up on this hint.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
if
they
you
don't.
Really love me, you'd know.
They're, and then the more you have to be explicit about it, it's almost humiliating or something.
Well, he addresses that. Yeah. Well, he says, you know, that we expect people to be mind readers, and you don't expect that. Don't expect that, you know. When things fall apart, here's some more. And chaos reemerges, we can give structure to it and reestablish order through our speech. If we speak carefully and precisely, we can sort things out and put them in their proper place and set a new goal and navigate to it, often communally, if we negotiate, if we reach consensus. If we speak carelessly and imprecisely, however, things remain vague. The destination remains unproclaimed. The fog of uncertainty does not lift, and there's no negotiating through the world. That's your reason.
So you just pretend that there's no problems, that everything's fine.
You remain vague. You remain in the fog of,
and then eventually you could very well and probably will get ambushed by reality.
yes, reality does that to you. And there is I might have written that down.
Well, I didn't mean to.
Yeah,
jump
there is
ahead.
another point where he says that. Okay, that's good, Jake. I think you read.
I'm reading his
but
mind.
I want to
Yeah.
say that speech, and I've taken some classes from Hillsdale and the college and the online. It's free, and the president always points out that speech is the unique thing that makes us human. Animals can't speak. Nobody else can speak, but they
can speak in C.S. Lewis books.
Well, that is, yeah. And that is magical. And maybe, maybe someday we'll be around talking animals. I don't know. But, the snake spoke, right?
That's true.
But because we can speak, we can politic, we can create communities. It differentiates us from any other being.
And we can argue. Argue's not bad.
Yeah, we can argue and we can negotiate.
Yeah, and you know how you were describing how Peterson and his wife live in separate rooms. Mm-hmm. It's a strategy. I remember when Charlie and Dorothy, that's Charlie Bethel, retired co-pastor. Charlie liked to introduce. He introduced us all to fair fighting, and I think Sharon Burns probably shared it with him. But or a fight date. And you would have like rules, and that's and that part of that is that if you're making a date to have the fight, then you're going to cool off in between. Yeah. So yeah.
And you plan for it.
Yeah.
It's not just an eruption of like your tempers. You save it for that day and that topic.
Yeah.
Here it is. Ignoring reality manifests itself into confusion and suffering. Is that what you were going to say?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, anybody that's on might feel free to leave a comment.
Let's look at are these comments? Okay. What, is there a comment place? This is comments there. Is that it or not?
Chat privately, I guess. I don't know. There we go. Okay.
All right.
If anybody wants to comment, go ahead.
Yeah, you can say hi.
Yeah. So that's rule 10. Be precise
in your language.
Speech. In your speech. Yeah. And just know that there's so much more to these chapters than I'm giving you. I mean, it's history, it's politics, it's theory, ideology.
I got some water from the word to add.
Yeah.
When you said speech, I keyed in on Psalm 19.
Yeah.
Psalm 19 says the heavens declare the glory of God.
Yeah. And
they pour forth speech.
They pour forth speech.
So they're talking all the time to everybody.
Okay.
And it keeps getting more specific in that psalm to like God's word. And it's very cool. So check it out. Psalm 19.
Okay. So in other words, they don't speak audibly like we do using language, but
they scream that somebody has made me.
Yeah. Because we all have eyes to see. Yeah. And most of us. And we see the world around us. And it's obvious that there's an order to it. A design.
The more we find out about it, the more we appreciate the fact that we're not, if we're another couple miles closer to the sun, we'd be toast. And if we're a little further away, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So the next and second to last rule is don't bother children when they are skateboarding. Now that sounds kind of random, right?
Hank and Francis,
old
friends of ours, they live next to a skateboard park.
Yeah, and so he's always complaining.
Oh,
he's always
what's
complaining.
He complaining about?
that he feels like these kids are just vagrants, that they're out there. Why are they spending all that time working on their skateboarding?
Wow. I hope
They
they're
might be
watching
listening.
AfterGlow.
They might be watching. Okay.
Hi.
Yeah. So don't bother children when they are skateboarding. What is that all about? So he's a university professor, and outside his window he can see this wonderful cemented area that makes a great skate ramp. So he's watching kids like go up and down over and over a billion times a day. And he's got time to think about it, and he realizes, and being a boy himself, growing up, that these, because the university wanted to take action, they wanted to protect these kids. So they built these huge cement planters, which blocked it off. So they couldn't have access. Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. But
so did that
don't you ever see that?
Snip it in the bud or nip it in the bud?
I don't know. But don't you see signs that say no skateboarding? Because kids will turn a handrail into a skateboard.
Yeah, our son used to make ramps. Remember, Josiah used to make ramps
up there in the forest.
All kinds of places.
Bike ramps.
Yeah, bike ramps. Yeah.
Kids will take these skateboards and just go down a handrail. It's incredible.
True, they'll be all over the place.
Right,
yeah.
And so what Peterson is saying, these kids aren't trying to be careful. They're not trying to not get hurt. They are pushing the limit. They're being daring. They're being courageous, and they're practicing. They're perfecting their art.
Tony Hawk became a legend in skateboarding, and that's how he made his living. Now, everybody's
plus
not
it's an
gonna do
Olympic
that,
sport.
but,
Isn't it an Olympic sport?
I don't know.
It is.
Of course.
They get this cool bowl-shaped ramp, and they do these. It's amazing. It's amazing. But Peterson's point is,
is that like not feeding the animals?
not feeding the animals.
Well, I'm saying the rule is don't bother a kid when he's skateboarding or something, right?
Yeah, well, feeding the animals is a little different.
Okay, but it's like
you're the observer. Don't
you can
bother
if you feed the animals, then bad stuff happens probably.
Yeah, and really his point he's getting to is that men are ridiculed. They are blamed for this patriarchal oppression of the whole world. They want people today of a certain bend want to, how capitalism was the go-to to blame all the world's woes on, because it feeds on people's greed. Right.
Yeah.
But they don't see the side that it feeds it and lifts people up from poverty, and it gives them the independence to go as far as they want. A lot of them become billionaires and millionaires. That now it's this, what he's arguing is this blame on patriarchy, that it's men who are to blame for the position that women don't have equal pay, and they don't have as good of jobs, and they've got to stay home with the children, and it's all, but I mean everything, every level is because of men.
And if you get pounded that message all the time, maybe you start believing it, and you figure I'm bad.
Yes, especially vulnerable young men. So he brings up, okay, so it gets kind of dark. He brings up the Columbine students who in the early 90s, these two
they had
students,
trench coats on.
They shot up. And it was like a first in our country. They shot up their high school and murdered a bunch of kids, and then they murdered themselves. And it was like they're trying to find their parents, and the police are trying to figure out how did this happen, and then they went into their room and found all this Hitler kind of propaganda and all kinds of stuff. But so people like them. People like the Columbine students that murdered children. What?
Are you saying that people like these people? Or
No. People
that
who are
like,
anti-human. He calls them anti-human. They believe that the human race doesn't deserve to be here. That the earth was here first, and people are parasites. And they're doing the earth a favor by helping rid the earth of some of them. And they take it to the logical conclusion where they also eliminate themselves. They demonstrate the purity of their commitment to annihilation. So these people are annihilators. So they are into annihilation. You don't really deserve to live.
So it's beyond zero population growth.
Yeah, it's take away.
It's like eliminate all population.
Yeah. And he says, why do people that seem to go after they sound like they're fighting prejudice, but they go after and denounce humanity itself. And he talks about his friend Chris. Now, he's talked about Chris before. He was a friend, a college friend. I think it was a school friend through the years. And I need to go here for a second. Chris kind of picked up on this whole line of thinking that somehow he was part of the problem, right?
So he was buying into that thinking.
Yeah. Now, so they're from Canada, and there are a lot of Native groups up there, right? So they're in school, with minorities, and so Peterson says, when my friend Chris got into it with Native kids, he wanted to fight back. He didn't feel that his self-defense was morally justified. So he took his beatings.
Being bullied.
We took their land. So he felt like he deserved it.
He deserved to.
And no wonder they're wrong. They're angry. But over time, step by step, Chris withdrew from the world. He's kept withdrawing. It was partly his guilt. He developed a deep hatred for masculinity and masculine activity. He saw going to school or working or finding a girlfriend as part of the same process that had led to the colonization of North America, the horrible nuclear stalemate of the Cold War, and the despoiling of the planet. So that's a lot of stuff.
It's all connected in together somehow.
Yeah, and somehow masculinity is at the patriarchy. Masculinity is at the center of it. He had been reading some books about Buddhism and felt that negation of his own being was ethically required. In the light of the current world situation, he came to believe that the same applied to others. So he started to believe the same nihilist.
Oh, so he started getting to be like the Columbine people, huh?
Yeah, that's what he's getting to. Is that's what Peterson's getting at, is that this whole line of thinking can lead young men, really astray. There's self-hate. It's self-hating. And he talks about a TED Talk that he watched. He was invited to, and he was excited about it because he thought this guy had some cool ideas. He was about he's doing some advanced research on like computerization, touching, screen touching, and moving beyond that. But this man ended up spending the whole time talking about how the planet is overpopulated and that he is only having one child, and they should too. And they should feel the burden of not adding to the population, and basically preaching that they are the problem. They're stealing breath from somebody. I don't know. So you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And he gets into a lot of this just big. This is where he really gets into the problem of communism and how many millions of people.
And we're talking not 2 million, 3 million, it's like 100 million.
Yeah, in the 20th century. Okay.
Got killed.
In the 20th century, we were supposed to be enlightened.
Starved to death or whatever.
So he's nearing the end of his book. he's really, this is the wheelhouse. This is his wheelhouse where he's defending masculinity, young men, and pointing out how destructive the trail is to self-hate, anti-human thinking, and philosophy. And he names Sartre, he names the ones, Derrida, that have really planted some of these communists, that are responsible for it unfolding, like in Cambodia. He cites this horrible, it's called the killing fields, where they eradicated commerce and sent all the people out of the cities and into the fields, where they died from overwork and starving. So this is
all under the rubric of not bothering skateboarders.
Yeah. And he also talks about the problem of mothers who overprotect their sons. We don't want you to get hurt. There's sort of this unspoken deal. You don't leave me and I'll take care of you. You won't have any responsibilities. So there's
all boys are mama's boys?
No, not all boys are mama's boys. But you have to be aware. Now, in his last piece of the book, he really extols mothers. I mean, he is so pro mother. Okay. So you got to understand.
Could we what do we have to understand?
That.
Okay.
Okay.
So on 10 rule was
be precise.
Precise in our language.
Yeah.
Rule 11 has to do with not getting in the way of boys that are trying to test their skills,
boys,
children,
girls, yeah.
And don't bother a skateboarder.
Right.
Okay. So that was all those things that you were talking about. So now we're going into rule 12. And what's
rule 12? If you see a cat, pet it.
This is a hard one for me. I'm allergic to cats, and I'm not so much a cat person. I'm sorry.
Okay, so he starts out the rule with talking about his dog. He didn't even talk about the cat. He likes dogs. The thing about the cat is that cats are a little mysterious. They appear. Sometimes they just appear, right? Sometimes they'll come near you. So he's just saying, take that moment. It's an analogy for taking the way a cat will you get a glimpse of a cat. Take that glimpse that you get of life amidst all of its horribleness, and look at the sunset or look at the sunrise, and take that moment to appreciate the goodness.
I like that. Capture the beauty of the moment.
Yeah. And so here he's winding things up. Okay. So he talks about his daughter, who was very young, had degenerative rheumatoid arthritis, and she had a hip replacement. She had an ankle replacement. A lot of pain. So he talks about how to cope with living with that much catastrophe, and he's got steps. And he invokes Matthew a lot, the book of the Bible. And
Matthew in the Sermon on the Mount, from 5 to 7.
Yeah. Well, he brings up Matthew 6:34, because he's telling us we should shift our frame from, it says, is that we don't be worried about tomorrow, because today, we have enough today. But he is advocating for Christ being at the center, the heavenly kingdom, following truth, so that you do what you need, what's right today, and things follow. You put you put the most important thing in order in your life first, and that's submitting yourself to truth. Okay, so he's got a very he's putting his priorities down for you. And then, so yeah, that's what he basically
So when you
says.
see a cat, you pet it.
Yeah.
So if you're in the middle of doing something,
Yeah.
say that you're in the middle of writing your book,
Yeah.
and your little 3-year-old comes up to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not like ignoring them or saying go away. You're the little kid's like the cat.
Yeah.
And you kind of smile at the kid. And you pet the kid like that.
Yeah, like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
So,
like that.
so, and then the final piece of the book is an area called coda. So what's coda, Jake?
Well, I thought it was like a musical term that has to do with the ending of the piece.
Mhm.
And then I looked it up in Google and I was right. I'm so happy.
It's the ending. It's the ending.
Yeah.
So he ends with this area. Well, it's the end of, it's after Rule 12. It's called coda. And a friend gave him a pen that has a light on the end so that when he would write, it's illuminated. So he could write in the dark.
Mm.
And he's finishing this book and he's like, what shall I write with my pen?
Wait a second. He can write in the dark. That means that the pen's got a little bitty light on it. Okay.
Yeah. I haven't seen one, but
I mean, you could do a pen that lights in the where the ink is like glow in the dark. There's different ways.
No, I think it illuminates. It illuminates what he's writing, the line he's writing.
Sure.
So he uses that idea sort of symbolically, and he asks himself some questions because he's trying to decide what he's gonna write. So he asks some of the most basic questions, and then he answers them immediately. And to me, this just sews it all together because he winds in each rule, not in like this rote way, but he brings you back and says that's why I said be precise in your language, or that has to do with treating yourself as though you're supposed to care about somebody. And let me just give you a couple of examples because they're absolutely beautiful ideas.
Cool. Let's do it.
And I like the way he answers them immediately. And I think he was having a moment where it came to him immediately too. Mm-hmm. So I think he was in a very special place. So for instance, and he starts out asking, it shall be given to you. Seeking, you shall find. Knocking, the door shall be opened. He understands that God is most important and he's going to give him answers. So I'm sorry, wait, let me get to some of them. What shall I do with my newfound pen of light?
Like what am I going to write with this cool pen? Yeah.
What shall I do tomorrow? The answer came, the most good possible in the shortest period of time. What shall I do next year? Try to ensure that the good I do then will be exceeded only by the good I do the year after that. He keeps going. What shall I do with my life? Aim for paradise and concentrate on today. What shall I do with my wife? Treat her as if she is the holy mother of God so that she may give birth to the world redeeming hero. She's going to give birth to some children. Let them do good too. Treat her like she is this precious person that's going to help make the world better. I mean, isn't that a high honor to give to your wife? What shall I do with my daughter? To act to justify the suffering of your parents is to remember all the sacrifices that all the others who lived before you, not least your parents, have made for you in the course of the terrible past. So he's thinking about his parents. What shall I do with the stranger? Invite him into my house and treat him like a brother so that he may become one. So you get, how shall I educate my people? Share with them those things I regard as truly important. There's one, how do I help my nation? How do I help my torn nation? Stitch it together with truth, with speaking the truth. Stitch it back together by speaking the truth. These are hard things to do, but as you can see, I mean, there's something, most people just need to know what to do. As complicated as life is, once you identify what's going on, what needs to be done, people need to know what to do.
In Ephesians, it says, "Let him who stole not steal anymore, but let him labor with his hands so that he'll have to give to him that needs." These kinds of things are in the Bible as well, and I'm sure he gets a lot of his.
Yes.
Well, you were saying from
gets
from Matthew and from the Sermon on the Mount and things like that.
Yes. So this is, I think this is the best part of the book, and the last two rules got much closer to where I think his real message is, his real heart is. Lisa told me she listened to it.
That's our daughter.
She listened to it on
an audiobook.
Yeah. What did she say?
Did she like it?
I forgot what she said. Yeah, she liked it. I forgot what I was going to say. I forgot. Anyway.
Our daughter is really good at thinking through things verbally.
Yeah.
And she's very organized, and she I can see her loving this stuff,
Yeah, she liked this book. So she listened to it. I wonder if how it comes through in an audio. Any book. I've not listened to a book on audio. A lot of people do.
Maybe if Burl Ives was to say.
Yeah. How are we doing on time?
So I don't know.
10
Okay.
minutes?
10 minutes?
No, we have 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Okay, so let's talk.
So you liked the book?
I like the book. I think that.
Do you have any problems with the book?
Well, I'm not sure. I don't know if he's trying to not alienate people by being inclusive. He talks about the Tao. I'm not sure what the Tao is.
Maybe he's talking about Taoism.
Taoism. He uses terms interchangeably a bit. Sometimes he says he doesn't know if he can know who God is. He's not an evangelical preacher. Okay. That's not his job. His job is to be he's a psychologist. And I think he is a pretty outspoken psychologist of biblical truth that you're going to get today for being a secular psychologist. I think he's a secular psychologist.
But not just totally secular. He believes that there is truth. He believes
there's truth.
That there are real wisdom to follow.
Yes.
And that there are concrete steps.
And it's built on millennia of tradition.
Yeah.
And what he means by tradition is the written word. And he means that. Yeah. And people who have come before us that wrote it down and that are smarter than us, who've experienced it, not to minimize. Not to throw away the past. Yeah. Yeah, it's important. Yeah. Okay, cheers.
Okay.
Cheers.
Thank you, Jeannie. That was very, very insightful and wonderful. Oh, I gotta stop that. Sinking in, I'm all by myself. I could have cried for help. I never went there, never knocked on his door. I'm scared that he don't live there no more. God, I need someone that truly cares. I wish I went to the man. I wonder if Abraham is kosher. Because it's got that ham, the green ham up there.
Abraham.
See that? Yeah, let's take that away from there. Abraham. Yeah, Rembrandt. Or was Rembrandt at the same time period as Abraham?
No. Rembrandt
were they friends?
Was born in 1660.
Yeah.
63, and he died in 1669, I think. He was 66 years old.
Yeah.
No, he was during the Dutch Baroque period.
Yeah,
17th century. Yeah.
Well, how did you like the reason that we're I'm gonna shift this right now. Today I spoke, and sometimes Jeannie likes my talks sometimes, especially if I'm more prepared. And today I used all these slides from Rembrandt, and she thought it'd be fun, kind of fun to look at some of these slides. I like to think about the Bible as the Hebrew scriptures. It's not a statement of faith. It's not a creed. I tend to look at it and think of it as a series of images or slides, or these and artists like Rembrandt pick out certain scenes and they'll depict it, and these things stick in our minds. Maybe we learned about it when we were in Sunday school or something, or Hebrew school, and whether it's I didn't even know that this wasn't in the Bible, but Abraham's father Terah, in the Talmud, that he would Abraham would smash up the idols in his father's idol shop. That's not in the Bible, and I was surprised after I became a believer that it was not.
Mhm.
But
'Cause that's
but that is an image that was in my mind, and it's these stories that God uses to deliver His word to us. So it's not necessarily precise, but it's very. He uses words, and these words tell stories.
Mhm.
So, and I'm a visual kind of guy. So today, Vayer means "and he appeared," and that's the name of the portion today. And so the beginning of it was in Genesis 18, when three men were appearing. And then, what do you do when somebody shows up? Well, you get out some salami and some schnapps, and you take care of them, right?
Mhm.
So that's what they did. They offered hospitality to these important people. And this etching is from Rembrandt. And this, if you know what it is, maybe the first thing you would think is, you see how you are pointing to that, but I think you need to use and point over here, and people could see this man in the middle is not Abraham. You think, oh, that's got to be Abraham. But no, it's not Abraham. He's one of the three men that show up, and he's got his hand, and we'll get through it. But there are all these different parts of the story. So that's what this is depicting: the Abraham entertaining these angels. So I'm gonna click over here, and so you see how parts of it are grayed out. The ones that are up right now, that is Ishmael above the person in the center, and you can see these shapes right here. Those are the tops of wings. So this is Abraham is understanding this is an angel, and over here is Sarah, and in the story, Sarah overhears that she's going to have a baby, and she's laughing about it, and then they called her out on it, and she says, "I didn't laugh." But she's in the dark because she's just she's not acting in faith at that point in time. And this is little Ishmael, and they're coming to deliver news that Sarah's going to have this baby, the baby that they've been waiting for. So let's go to the next slide. In the lower right hand corner, I was saying that this man in the middle was probably Abraham. No. This one's Abraham right there. See that?
Humble.
Yeah,
So
and
humble.
he's got a little container. He's seeing what he could do to serve these people. And this is Sarah, his wife. So he's in the light, she's in the dark, and we know why, because she was disbelieving what was going on. She wasn't believing it. Okay, so we can continue on. This is another this is a painting, and it's of the same scene, but Abraham is a character, right?
Mm-hmm.
And where do you go to find out about this character?
Mm-hmm.
Well, fortunately, Rembrandt lived in the Jewish part of town, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people in the years previous, in the decades, and the even maybe century previous, had moved up from Spain because Spain kicked out the Jewish people, and they had a flourishing Jewish community there. He knew the
In
rabbis,
Amsterdam.
and he knew the rabbis, and he knew that the rabbis' interpretation of this is that there's 3 angels, right? 3 angels, and that these angels are Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael. They all have different jobs. Michael's bringing the news of Isaac's birth, and Raphael is come to heal Abraham from his circumcision, and Gabriel is sent to destroy Sodom. And that's the other news that they're bringing.
And
Sodom is going to be destroyed. Right. So that's what they think. And but if you look at this painting, we believe, or a lot of people believe, that when the scripture talks about these 3 men, the personal name of God is used here. The Lord appeared to Abraham. Vayireh Elav Yud He Vav He, the tetragrammaton, the Hashem, the name of God is used. Same one that God talked through the burning bush to Moses. He says, I am. That's what's used. So when he's talking to him, that's the I am, So so Abraham is entertaining these angels, and this painted version illuminates the angel, the middle one, the angel of the Lord. And here, I thought it was interesting that Abraham, you got this foot sticking out, like sometimes I'll put my foot out.
3 minutes left.
Okay. And I want Gina to take my socks off. Well, Abraham is about to wash his visitor's feet. Sort of like Jesus washed the disciples' feet. Jesus turned it around. But let's keep going. This is another one where he's warning. The angels are warning them about what's going to happen with Sodom. And actually, Abraham negotiates with them about whether they should really destroy Sodom or not, because his nephew Lot lives over there. This is Lot after Sodom is destroyed. And it's a beautiful, beautiful drawing of him. You see that? But he's drunk because his daughters had, this is after the destruction. They're living in a cave. They might think they're the only ones left in the world after all that crazy destruction, right? And they get him drunk, and they end up having sex with him and having babies by him. And one becomes the Moabites, and the other one becomes the Ammonites,
which were the enemies.
Yes. And then this has to do with Abimelech. This all happens that God talks to this king and tells him that you see, Abraham lied to him and says that Sarah's his sister. And God talks to him and tells him, you better not touch Sarah. So here, finally, Abraham, this is Abraham and Isaac in his arms, and it's a beautiful scene. So Isaac's finally born, but then Ishmael has to go because he's going to be a bad influence. And then you've got the same kind of thing. It's kind of beautiful. with you see that Abraham is telling us Hagar and Ishmael they have to leave, and there's another drawing of God protecting Hagar and protecting Ishmael in the desert, and same kind of thing, saying, "Oh, please, Here, Abraham is about to be tested. He's called on by God to sacrifice his one and only son Isaac. And then here is Abraham on top of the mountain, and God stops his hand. And these are all images, and Jeannie thought it would be nice to show these to you.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Sure.
Are you doing something? We gotta go. We gotta
Okay.
go.
Gotta go.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you. God.
Okay. God bless you. And let's go to the end.
Okay. Gotta go.
And so thank you for coming, joining us today at AfterGlow. We had a great time. Thank you, Jeannie, for all the rules that we learned. And it was a great thing. We have a great Ducati.
Bye.
And come to MessianicLambRadio.com
Bye.
to get more.
Yeshua